We're here for a meeting of the Naples Daily News Editorial Board, and joining us is Wynn Phillips, one of 6 candidates for 3 seats on the Naples City Council in a nonpartisan race. Thanks for joining us, Wynn.
Thank you for having me. And may I also say hello to all those persons watching. Hi.
Let's go ahead and start out. Give us a little bit of biographical information, how long you've been in Naples and where you came from.
I've been in Naples approximately 10 years. I come from Richfield, Ohio, in the Midwest. I like to think of myself as I am, from the Midwest with mid-class values, the most important one being fairness, fundamental fairness.
And career-wise, talk a little bit about what your career has been in.
My career has been in the field of psychology. I worked in the Cleveland Public Schools as a consultant, working with children that were handicapped, including learning disabilities. One thing of which I was very proud is I helped one of my students, Ted Ginn, sign with Miami for $7 million. And you may know he was in the Super Bowl. I'm really, really proud. I also worked as court psychologist in the psychiatric clinic, and I taught at the college level at Cleveland State University. I taught psychology courses, and I think this will be an advantage to me to be on city council, is that I also taught correlational and inferential statistics. And as you know, council does studies and higher studies, and I think it's really important to know if the N is enough, that would be the number of subjects, know about correlation coefficients, standard deviations, and those type of things. As a matter of fact, I have also published 2 studies, and of course my coursework involved statistics courses, and the use thereof.
Can you give us an example of a recent issue that's come up where an understanding of statistics and correlations might have been useful or beneficial to the City Council?
I'm looking forward to one of them, which I hope gets off the ground, is heading in that direction, and that is completing a master plan for our parks. There was also a study done regarding the airport.
The airport study, would that have been under the purview of the City Council, or is that more of a Naples Airport Authority type of deal?
I believe it was independent with coordination with both of those. I think the questions were asked of county residents in general, and I think it was understood that it was to be an international airport, which to me would mean I could fly to Cleveland, my hometown, or visit my brother in Pittsburgh. It doesn't appear to be going those places right now.
Generally speaking, do you support commercial flights at the airport?
Generally speaking, no.
And how about the present level of jet noise? Is it of concern to you? Is it a reason to run? Although I understand that City Council doesn't control the airport directly, but it does
Right,
appoint airport authority members who could possibly have a philosophy.
You're correct in that.
So how do you feel about jet noise as it exists over the city now?
Well, I don't think jet noise is particularly pleasant to anyone. Where I live, 2 blocks from City Hall, by the way, I do call myself Mr. Naples because I live in the heart of the city in former Coast Guard housing. So airplanes fly over frequently. They're noisy. I think it's in part because of pilots not flying as they're supposed to. I think there are plans for them to head to higher altitudes more quickly. In terms of the noise, when I'm having a conversation, you simply stop the conversation. When I play tennis, I play on a tennis team. You simply stop playing tennis, and then you start playing tennis again. For me, the thing that is most bothersome is the pollution. I just washed my car yesterday. It's dirty today. So I'm interested in health, and that's a long-term issue with the airplanes. Noise comes and goes, pollution doesn't.
What would you see the use of the airport for then if it's not for commercial?
I think its prior use was appropriate. Private. It's a beautiful place, by the way. I love going out there. It's a feeling of openness and space.
So when it was just private, there was not a noise or pollution problem at that point?
There was a noise and pollution problem, yes. I think the big question is that of the flight pattern. Whether it goes over Old Naples and Fifth Avenue or down a body of water. I do understand the flight plans they have now is the quickest route. I can see why they fly over.
To what degree have you been keeping up with what the city council is doing in terms of going to meetings or watching meetings?
I have either attended or watched every meeting for the past year, including the workshops that they have.
We've seen three pretty substantial decisions made here lately, one in terms of redoing the city dock, another in terms of changing the makeup of Central Avenue, and then also moving ahead with Baker Park. Can you go through each of those three and give us your assessment of what the council did on those?
Yes. Let's take Baker Park. The council started out and paid money for studies, engineers, etc., and then canceled the plans. So now we have a new plan. I think this is going to work, and I look forward to it going ahead. What needs to be done is that building has to start. Then, hopefully, the donors that were there previously will come back and contribute. We'll need the donors to finish the park. I think there's a Friends of Baker Park. It's a 103C organization, if I say those words correctly.
501.
501. Well, at least I got the three numbers part right.
Wynn, what about Central Avenue? What do you think of that decision?
Well, once again, a study was done prior to the current study. The previous study was halted because of the downturn in the economy. So work is to begin on Central Avenue. I think from the plans I see, it looks beautiful. I have some concerns, however. One is the roundabouts look a little bit tight to me. So I'd be concerned about persons making the roundabouts. And I'll mention why later when I talk about bicycle and the bicycle paths. Another thing about the traffic is that it's possible for traffic to be backed up from 91 around the circle, prohibiting persons heading south on 8th Street to entering the roundabout. The other issue I have is bicyclists and the dangers to them. I know that when I'm riding my bicycle, I'm afraid of getting hit by a car. When I'm driving a bicycle, I worry about that constantly. When I'm driving a car, I worry about hitting the bicyclist. Cars weigh from, beginning with compacts from 3,000 pounds up. They can be very destructive when they hit you. My idea would be, and I don't know why this has never been in the plans, as to why can't we put sidewalks next to bike paths? As now we have 3-foot bike lanes next to cars, and in some situations on Central Avenue, it's going to be between parked cars and traveling cars. And I worry about the parked cars opening doors as a bicyclist goes by, both for me in the car and for me as the bicyclist. There's also the issue, and this involves bicycles on the road and the roundabouts. There are senior citizens here, like my uncle, who's 95, who drives anywhere he wants, whenever he wants. That's a concern for the bicyclists. My other concern is those people that have been overserved. I think that that's my biggest issue is safety. I really do enjoy the idea, though. I love bicycling. I like the idea of traveling from Gordon Park to the Gulf. I think that's absolutely wonderful. I hope we can do it safely. The other issue is the pier.
The dock, the
The
city
dock.
dock, yeah.
I'm sorry, yes. I think I thought of it is because both of them are icons to me. I am all in favor of the dock. It's going to hold 70 boat slips. As it is now, I think it's a huge liability with rotten and broken boards. It is also supposed to be an enterprise institute. That means that it's supposed to be self-sustaining, as is Arthur Allen Tennis Center. Arthur Allen is, I believe, but the dock does not earn enough money to keep it afloat, so to speak. I think with it being refurbished, we might charge more money for the use of the dock. With higher usage, there will be more gasoline sold, and there could be other amenities offered for which we can gather monies. We're in the hole right now, I have to say. If I could mention names, I think Roger Jacobson has done a terrific job. He's helping us pull out of a hole which he inherited. And I look forward to it. As I mentioned, it's an icon. So therefore, I think it's possible, feasible, fair to use some public funds to fund it. And I look forward to walking out on it.
You mentioned you'd like to see construction start at Baker Park in hopes of attracting some donors back. Do you have any thoughts on what should be put there first? What improvements should be top priorities?
I think top priority should be the use of the Gordon River. Currently, there's a rowing club. It's not that difficult to plan for kayaks, canoes, or what other forms of transportation and enjoyment of the river. To me, that seems like a very easy place to start. I think another thing that will be important is something that you might call a band shell or a performance area of some sort. That could take the pressures off other places like Cambier Park. And I think they will be well attended. I think the need has been demonstrated. If you ever see the number of persons sitting at a council during season at Cambier Park and the traffic jams, it would be nice to have another venue. I think it would be new and wonderful, and people will use it, will benefit, and I think it's a very worthwhile project.
Beyond the concerts at Cambier Park, what about other special events in the city that seem to attract traffic? And you mentioned the concerns with traffic backing up on Central Avenue. It seems like special events and traffic might go hand in hand.
Yes.
Are there too many special events in Naples now? Is it about right? Can they be better managed or better distributed?
Well, I think another venue that's enjoyable will definitely help with the congestion. As to whether there's too much or too little, I guess it depends on what event you're having. For myself, I enjoy Cambier Park and that area, but often the street is blocked off during season, so it's difficult getting out sometimes, and it gets very crowded in that manner. So I would say City Council has done a good job. I think that they've looked at each event, and some are traditional, and they should keep going, like the parades, St. Pat's Parade, which I'll be in. I enjoyed the Christmas Parade and the 4th of July Parade. So before we cut down on those, we have to take a very careful look and see if there's another venue that might be more appropriate.
Couple of times when you've mentioned the traffic, a lot of the growth that's occurring that's bringing people into the city is occurring out in the unincorporated area. So what can the city council do to better manage the traffic inside the city?
Well, I think synchronization of lights would be very important. It's hard to say people can't drive to the city. Most are coming, I understand, from Collier County. They like to use our beaches, and they should be allowed to do that. I think that hand in hand with congestion goes parking. So if we can have cars off the streets into parking areas, that would help, in my opinion. Along those lines, and I think you might ask, what is my opinion about underground parking?
What is your opinion about it?
I'm glad you asked. I'm for it. I think it can be done safely. It's been done around the country. I don't think there's any reason for us to be different or to worry about it. I trust in the engineers we hire and the construction persons. I'm sure it will be safe. And I think it's going in the right direction to help us with congestion.
One of the other suggestions we've heard in terms of dealing with parking is another parking garage downtown. What do you think about that?
Well, first we would have to determine the location. I know that some of the businesses on the west end of Fifth Avenue might use a little more patronage. And if it was in that area or made that area of Fifth Avenue more accessible, I think that would be appropriate. I would need to look at who it serves, where it's located. In general, like most persons, I don't particularly like looking at parking garages. But that's not pleasant, so you have to balance that to provide what is convenient, but also take into account the aesthetics and the ambiance of Old Naples. So I hope that answers the question. The only other thing I can say is that when I was in Miami, I saw a parking garage that had vegetation, vines or something growing over it. And I can tell you, I walked by that many times looking for a parking garage. I never found the parking garage. It was behind all this vegetation. So that might be a direction we could go if we have a parking lot.
And Fifth Avenue in general, do you support more intensity down there, change in use at all? Is it about right the way it is?
I don't support more density. So I would have to say it's about right. I think we've reached a balance. That doesn't mean there can't be new development. It just means that some places need to be redeveloped.
There's been some difference of opinion in terms of that underground parking in downtown Fifth Avenue, whether or not that underground parking ought to count toward the height limit that's in effect in the city charter. Do you have an opinion on whether the underground parking ought to count toward that 42 feet?
Well, I think a garage is a garage. I don't think it counts towards the 42 feet. I know that there is a lawsuit or an appeal of the decisions made on McCabe's structure, and that may include the 7-foot extension from the 42-foot limit. I think that answers your question about underground parking. A garage is a garage, not a story, in my opinion.
And is 7 foot above the 7 foot of accessories above the 42
Right.
feet? Is that acceptable, or should everything be below the 42 feet?
I'm in favor of less tall buildings. Oftentimes, cupolas are added to increase the looks or for whatever reason. I have a kind of a saying I say to myself that makes me smile, is that we're known as the city of trees. We might become also known as the city of cupolas. I think it could have been planned for 42 feet.
When one of the other things we've heard discussed is the pollution that's going into Naples Bay and also the outfalls going out to the Gulf of Mexico. How do you think the city ought to address its stormwater drainage issues?
Well, the politically correct answer is no way. Don't put it in the Gulf. Unacceptable. However, where is it going to go? The idea of storing it, not going to work. There's way too many gallons to store. I would prefer there's some way for the land to retain the waters, but we're paving over paradise. I think that comes from a song, Build Me a Parking Lot. I was in the minority when the council candidates were asked this, but I think for a recent feasible solution would be to make one discharge pipe longer, way out into the Gulf of Mexico. Granted, the same amount of pollution is going into the Gulf. It will just be farther away. If anybody else has a better solution, I'd like to hear it, and I would adapt it, and I would support it. It's just that I've thought about it long and hard, and this is an immediate solution. And if I'm not wrong, I do believe City Council voted over $200,000 to have an engineer to make a study on that very same issue.
What about the pollution that comes down from Golden Gate and in the Estates area down into Naples Bay? Is there anything the city can do to address that?
I think there would have to be a lot of discussions with the persons in that area. I'm not sure how much jurisdiction we have over some of that area, so it would require a joint effort. Along those lines, I think one thing Naples can do or needs to do is start coordinating with the county. There are many county persons that come to Naples as an entertainment center or to do shopping or go to the theater. There's also the question of emergency services, fire stations, fire services, safety services for emergency services. For example, just the other day I got a call from my father, who I thought maybe was having a heart attack. He said my name and then it fell off, and then my name and fell off. So I called Naples Police Department, and they said, well, it's not in our jurisdiction. You're going to have to talk to the persons in Collier County. So I called Collier County. I believe the personnel called the sheriff. I'm not quite sure. However, I did make that connection, but it seemed a very long time. Actually, I never heard back from them because, as it turns out, I found out my father was in the hospital, and I called them to say the situation no longer requires their help. So I think other people have experienced that issue. Not often, but I think often enough to give some consideration to it, especially taking into account the duplication of services and the costs involved. So it means talking, coming to a consensus, problem solving.
We've got about a minute left here in our time. Wynn, what have we not covered here that you wanted to get out to the voters?
I'm smart. I was a member of Mensa. I wouldn't qualify today, However, I've been a president of my class at Ohio Wesleyan University. I have been president of the International Law Society at Case Western Reserve University, at Kent State University. After the May 4th shootings, Chrissy Hine of the Pretenders and I put together what I called 100 Homes Project, where we brought together the citizens, the students, and the faculty to try to discuss the issue and the aftermath and what might be done about that.
Anything else you want to add?
Well, I could say as a psychologist, you can rely on me to listen and understand your concern. As a law graduate, I understand our ordinances and regulations. My mathematical analytic skills can help smart, sustainable growth for our beloved Naples. I ask for your vote. I will very much appreciate your consideration.
Thank you, Wynn.